Welcome to Elevate Springfield, where we will dive into strategies and stories that help you rise to your full potential. Each episode, we'll talk about how you can take intentional steps to elevate your life and your business while making a meaningful impact on those around you. Along the way, we're going to bring in the change makers from our community that are already elevating. We'll bring the actionable strategies, you bring the discipline and follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield. All right, let's go, Springfield. Another great week in the capital city. Hey, you are listening to Elevate Springfield. Robert Ferriell here, certified 10X coach, speaker, and mentor. Ready to bring you actionable strategies. You bring the discipline, follow through, and together, that's right, we're going to elevate Springfield, y'all. Hey, a lot of great stuff happening right now. Who saw the dome coming up last week? Pretty phenomenal to see another great project here in our area taking shape, and we've got so much more in the pipeline. As I've said before, I really feel like Springfield is about to explode in growth, and we're all going to be a part of it. Hey, a couple of things. Last week, I was installed in as the president of Local First Springfield. First off, if you're a business out there, a local business, and you're not involved with organizations like this, I would highly, highly recommend it. Hey, I've got some great ideas. We have a phenomenal board, and we are going to do some great things here with Local First Springfield. So, hey, if you're a local business out there and you already know you want to be a part of it and you are not already, just head over to localfirstspringfield.com and go ahead and get signed up, or give me a shout. I'd love to talk to you about it personally, talk to you about all the benefits of being involved. Hey, we've got another event coming up through that organization on September 18th. Mark the calendars. It's going to be on the west side of Springfield. We'll be dropping where it's going to be and what we're going to be doing here real soon. But go ahead and mark your calendars for September 18th in the evening. Join us with Local First Springfield. Do some networking. See where those collaboration points could be for you and for your business. Another announcement coming up here from the Elevate Springfield podcast. We're going to be having a brand new studio. We'll be coming to you from downtown Springfield. Certainly looking forward to that. Shoot you some pictures here on social here soon once we get that all solidified. But we are pumped up about having a new space for the podcast and also Big Dog Business Coaching. So a lot of really great things to come. Do want to thank everyone for all their support over these first, about 4 months of the podcast. So many great people in our area that have already been on the pod, and I've got a lot more great people that'll be joining us in the weeks and months to come. A big shout out and a thank you to Brandon over at Custom Property Solutions, where they transform land and outdoor spaces throughout Central Illinois with precision and passion. Hey, they specialize in land clearing and forest mulching, lawn care, excavating and grading, culvert installation, fence row clearing, and hardscaping and landscaping. Anything you need along those lines, they can help you out. They're fully insured, safety first, and committed to communication. On time, on budget, every time. Head over to their website, custompropertysolutions.LLC.com. Now, for anybody that's listened to the show for any length of time or may know me personally, you know one of my passions is that holistic approach to health and wellness. And our guest today, Dr. Samantha Waggener, is here to talk all about health and wellness, her chiropractic clinic, how they grew, and how they take a holistic approach to wellness. Looking forward to this conversation. I know you're going to get a lot of great tidbits out of it. So we'll be back with Dr. Sammy after the break. Custom Property Solutions transforms land and outdoor spaces throughout Central Illinois with precision and passion. From clearing overgrown brush to crafting stunning patios and fire pits. Need expert lawn care, excavation, or fence row clearing? They've got you covered, safely, efficiently, and on budget. Fully insured and satisfaction guaranteed. Visit CustomPropertySolutionsLLC.com today, where your land meets their passion. All right, and we are back. Joining me in the studio now, Dr. Samantha Waggener from Wagner Chiropractic. Dr. Sammy, how you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Fantastic. Appreciate you spending the afternoon with me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I'm ready to learn more about chiropractic care, learn about what you do. My wife and girls have been going to you for quite a while, so I've heard some of it already, but I want to hear it from you. And of course, I'm passionate about health and wellness, as I know you are as well. So let's start with learning a little bit more about you. Tell us about Dr. Samantha Waggener.
Absolutely. So I'm from Rochester originally, and then I graduated from Rochester. I did some undergrad at University of South Carolina at Aiken on an equestrian scholarship, actually. Ended up coming back and getting my degree locally, and I did a bachelor's degree in health science, and then went to chiropractic school where you get a second bachelor's degree in, I got that one in biomedical science, and then you get a doctorate degree too there. So
Awesome. So equestrian scholarship. Tell me a little bit more about that. You don't hear that one too often.
Yep. So I started riding horses when I was about 8 years old. My mom rode horses also. And so I got into it doing hunter jumpers. And then there's a lot of different opportunities out there, a lot of different disciplines, but that's kind of what took me to South Carolina. And you can kind of ride on a team and compete there. So,
okay. So I don't know a whole lot about it. What are the rides that you do? What do you compete in?
Yeah. So if you've ever
like
seen
that?
those horses like jump over the jumps and do different things like that, that's like the discipline that
gotcha.
I did. Yeah.
Gotcha. So what drew you to that in the first place? Just curious.
You know, I've always been an animal lover, and my mom was big into horses, and I think that's just how it started. So it was something that we kind of did with my mom and with my sister, and just kind of went from there.
Okay.
I really loved it.
Yeah. So what drew you to chiropractic care?
That's an interesting thing because I never grew up in a chiropractic family, and I actually have quite a bit of medical and the other side of medical in my family, not really the holistic style.
Sure.
And I knew I wanted to do something taking care of either animals or people. So originally I thought I wanted to be a vet, and I worked at an animal hospital, and I loved that, but I couldn't get past the sadness that's also kind of comes with that. So then I did a lot of shadowing. One of my high school teachers kind of encouraged me to, I thought I wanted to be a radiologist or an anesthesiologist, and I shadowed those, and I was like, this is not for me. This is not what I want to do. And then I thought, well, I kind of want to be an eye doctor. So I shadowed an eye doctor. Also can't sit in a dark room all day long. I just can't do it. And we actually had a career development class where I don't even know if he knows this story, but there's a chiropractor in Chatham named Dr. Gene Sullivan.
Okay.
He has a very good reputation. He's a very genuine human. And he came in and he was talking to our class. And I was like, I've had a little bit of chiropractic care. I was diagnosed with a curvy spine, scoliosis, when I was younger. And I thought what he had to say was interesting, and I really wanted to be able to help people. And so there was also a recruiter there at the time. And so I kind of looked more into it. And then like 2 days later, the college reached out to me and recruited me, and I started like 10 days later.
That's awesome. How important were those job shadowing experiences?
Oh my gosh. That's the one thing that I encourage everybody that comes to me, or anybody that shadows me, or anybody that's not sure what they want to do. You have got to get out there and you've got to shadow, because there's a lot of different ways that people do things. And you might think one job, or, you might see something where they make like a great financial income or something like that. But what they're doing is not what you want. So, and that's the same thing with chiropractic. There's a million ways to practice. And I shadowed over 30 offices before I graduated all over the United States to see where I wanted to practice and how I wanted to practice. And so that's really important too, is getting out there and definitely seeing it firsthand rather than just trying to guess what you want to do.
So you're able to actually shadow over 30 of them?
I did.
That's awesome.
I did. Yeah. My husband, we weren't married at the time, but we'd been together all through chiropractic school, and he would drive with me or fly me with him all over, and we would just go to a bunch of different offices. So I would just randomly reach out.
Yeah, that had to be an education in and of itself, right?
Yeah, it was
Going around
so
doing
fun.
that.
I loved it. Well, most of it I loved, and then I found a lot of like what I didn't want to do too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Did you find hey, I'm not going to do it this way? Or,
yes,
I really like to do it that way. That's what my practice looks like.
Yeah, so after chiropractic school, I actually went to Virginia Beach. My husband's aunt and uncle live out there, and I job shadowed it, or I did my internship at a very high volume, high chaos office. And I liked the organized chaos, but I realized that I don't love seeing 500 people a day, amongst other people in there. Multi-docs, multi-employees, you don't really get that super close one-on-one. You do to a certain extent, but not like what I wanted. And so I loved the experience because I learned a lot of like, how to do new patient exams and what to say and a script to follow. But I also realized that I don't ever want an office like that. So, I worked in that for almost a year, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity. I loved it, but I also was like, I don't want to do that forever.
Right.
So, yep. So I thought that was really cool too, because after chiropractic school, you have the opportunity to do a preceptorship. And so finding those offices that first are a preceptorship location and then also deciding how you want to practice is important.
Tell us a little bit more about the schooling that's involved, like your degrees that you have. Tell us a little more
Definitely.
about that.
So it's interesting with chiropractic, there's a lot that goes into it and there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but they have different programs and different timelines for things. So what I did was I did actually 3 years of undergrad. So I had college credit coming out of high school, quite a bit of it.
Mhm.
And then I had the opportunity to test out of almost a year of undergrad. So I did my undergrad in 3 years. I was missing one class, which was organic chemistry. And Logan also has this accelerated science program. That's where I went to chiropractic school, Logan University in Chesterfield, Missouri. They have an accelerated science program where you're able to get all of that done in 8 weeks and then 8 weeks. So I got OChem done, and then they just fast track you right to the doctorate program. So chiropractic school is just a little under 3.5 years, and then you can do your preceptorship or your internship after that, and then you're on your own. So yeah, you get an undergrad degree, and then you get your grad degree.
So, in terms of interest in the field, is there a lot of folks going to Logan, a lot of folks getting into chiropractor? I work with a lot of younger students and everything, and I'm always trying to help them figure out what they want to do, and there's always ebbs and flows in industries.
There
So,
is. Yeah. Right now, kind of what we mentioned earlier, there's a little bit of I think it's for financial reasons, there's a little bit of a lower number of students starting in chiropractic college right now. When I started in chiropractic school, I started in the fall trimester. They do trimesters instead of semesters. And I had 108 people in my class. And I think they told us there were about 1,000 people in chiropractic school total at the time.
Okay.
And in those areas, I believe there's like 17 chiropractic colleges, but like 19 campuses in the United States, somewhere along those lines. And there are, a lot of, for example, in Missouri, where Logan is, you can throw a rock and hit 20 chiropractic offices.
wow.
So I think it just depends. I feel like the way our world is going, a lot of people are really wanting to do more of this wellness lifestyle. I feel like a lot of people are getting away from just masking the problem with medication. So I do think that there is more of like a want to be either like a chiropractor or something more holistic. But in terms of like actual numbers at chiropractic colleges, I do know they're a little bit down. So I do try to really encourage students and patients, if they have interest in it, I try to kind of give them that boost to get into it.
Right, because I think you're right. In terms of the general population, there is kind of a resurgence or renaissance in health and wellness. People
Absolutely.
are starting to pay a lot more attention to it, even people that hadn't in the past, and the people that have been paying attention to it are going even deeper with it.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So school's over. What was the first gig right after school?
So I knew that after being gone and in Virginia Beach, I'm really close to my family and I'm really close to my husband's family. And I realized that although I don't necessarily love everything about Illinois, I love everything in Illinois. And so we decided to come back here, and I really thought I wanted to open my own practice right out of the gate. But that had its challenges. I was trying to buy an existing office in Springfield, and I had no income. I had very little money saved up, and all I had going for me was great credit and a great support system. That's all I had. So I tried and tried and tried to buy this office, and it just wouldn't work out. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason, even though at the time I was so disappointed. I thought my life was over right after chiropractic school because I couldn't get this office spot. And so I joined an existing practice in Chatham. It was more of like a rental space deal. He allowed me to practice. He built a room for me. He bought me a table. I was responsible for bringing in all of my own patients, but he allowed me to use his business. And I did that for almost 2 years out of school. And it ended up just not working out. And I'm super thankful for the opportunity. I learned a lot of what to do and a lot of what not to do. So during that time when I knew it was just something that I wasn't going to do forever, I wasn't going to be able to stay there forever, but I knew I wanted to be local, I started just slowly gathering things. I knew I was going to need a desk and computer and, a chiropractic table, different things like that. Every time I would make some money, I would buy some, and I didn't have a lot. And that's kind of one of the biggest misconceptions is like you think when you graduate chiropractic school, like you're a doctor, you're going to make all this money. That's really not the case. An associateship, you can join an office and you can just get paid and you can go do your job and you can go home at the end of the day. But I didn't want that. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to have my own office.
Absolutely.
And so we slowly, obviously my husband was working, so we slowly would just start gathering. And we were young. I graduated chiropractic school when I was 23.
Okay.
So I was like a baby doctor. So we slowly started collecting things. And then my husband and my mother-in-law are real estate agents. And so they found an area to rent, which is where I am now. And so in February of 2018, I opened up my own office. At the old office, I was able to work with and get really close to a couple of massage therapists, Beth and Bristol. And when I let them know that I was going to be leaving, we were all so close. They're like, we want to go with you. Like, we want to support you. So they came with me to my current office.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they've been my number one fans since day one, along with like my family. And so that made it less daunting to go out on my own because I knew I was going to have the support from them also. So we opened up Wagner Chiropractic in 2018. We had one little spot in a strip mall, and I had one room with my little table in it. And I think that's one of the biggest and most important things from my perspective and just my opinion is we started very simple. My mom and Derek, which is my husband, ran the front desk for me because we couldn't afford someone to run the office. But I knew that I couldn't do it all by myself. I had my little table. I had my little intersegmental traction table, which is like a roller table. And that's pretty much, I had a phone. That was pretty much all I had. But I think one of the things that really allowed us to be successful is we did not have a loan starting out with our business.
Yeah.
So that was huge too. I'll never forget the first day that we opened up. Derek and I had $47 in our combined bank account. And I remember thinking I got to get to work. Like this is, we've got to do something here. And I just was so thankful because of the opportunity that I had before. I was able to, a lot of patients had met me, but I was limited on what I could do there.
Sure.
So then once I opened up, we hit the ground running. I remember vividly telling my in-laws, like, I just have to try to get 10 patients a week to get my overhead. Like, that's all I have to do. And I think in the first week we had like 112 visits or something.
That's what I was going to ask you. So was it a right off the bat because people knew you? You had a pretty good clientele?
Kind of. I mean, I had back-to-back visits. Now from sun up to sundown, we grind all day long. But then I had some breaks and I was able to, you're getting new patients, which take longer. So when I was at the old office, I was seeing a couple people a day and I was just slow, but you're brand new. People don't know you. And so, in school, they'd always say, people are not going to line up at your door. And that is true. Nobody lines up at your door. So it pays to be likable and it pays to be genuine and it pays to take care of people. So that's kind of what I did. And then when I did move, people knew me and they were more likely to come to that office. And it was a happy, welcoming, loving office. And it just kind of skyrocketed from there. So yeah, then I was there by myself with the 2 massage therapists. And then about 3.5 years ago, 2 other chiropractors joined me. It's a husband-wife team and they're wonderful. We all practice the same way. We all are like-minded. So that was really nice too, because then I stopped taking patients about 2 years in just because our schedule was so full. And I was able to kind of give some to them. They were able to bring their own in also.
Perfect.
So that worked out nicely. We added 2 more massage therapists after that. And then we added an animal chiropractor too. So we've just been able to grow from that point. So I'm very thankful.
Love it. So with that growth, you said at the very beginning you had that 112, I think is what you mentioned,
Yeah.
appointments there. So you said most of it was people knew you already, but did you do any kind of big marketing push at the beginning to get you rolling, or was it really just primarily people knew you and they came?
So the biggest thing is word of mouth. So I've always told any of my interns or anybody is I can honestly say from day one I have treated everybody in that office like I would treat my mom or dad, like a family member, as long as you love your family.
Sure.
So our biggest thing was word of mouth. For sure. I didn't really know what I was doing on Facebook, but it kind of guides you. I did some boost posts and stuff like that.
Sure.
I did a lot of there was some gymnastic gyms that I had partnered up with. And then I didn't in the beginning before chiropractic school, but once I graduated, I knew I wanted to have a family, kind of more wellness practice rather than acute care.
Yeah.
And so I got into a lot of pediatric chiropractic care. So there's some breastfeeding groups and stuff like that. You take care of and you help one mom, she is going to tell a million moms because you changed her life. Having a baby and changing your life like that, having a newborn that is a great baby is, a game changer. So you take care of and you change the life of one person, they're going to tell a million people. So I never did a lot of you always get approached for Google marketing and this isn't necessarily something I recommend for everybody, but I didn't do a lot of marketing. I just really took good, honest care of my patients and they told everybody else. So
do you think that's out of the norm for chiropractic? Do you think a lot of chiropractors really rely on traditional marketing techniques, or are they more like you where they rely on word of mouth, rely on really taking care of their people to
You
be
know,
able to drive that?
I think it depends on where you are. So we're obviously small town. Our office is across the street's technically Chatham. Where we
Mhm.
are is a Springfield address, but Springfield, Chatham, Auburn, Verdon, it's all small town. And so I did a lot of I would go to events and, my sister works at Shields and I take care of a lot of the Shields people. And so
Mhm.
I would do their spring event and summer event. I would do their ladies' night events. In the very beginning, I did a couple little, 5Ks and stuff. But for the most part, I think most offices, they do a lot of health and wellness events where they go and do screenings. I just knew that I didn't want all of my free time always to be dedicated to that. And then I noticed from the beginning that I didn't really have to. I just didn't do that. But I do think it depends on where you are. I think it depends on the person. And I think it depends on how you run your office.
Mhm. So I think you've grown considerably over the years.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you saw 112 that first week. About
Yeah.
how many is your office serving in a week right now typically?
It depends on the week. So, and this is strictly because of what I do, and I have such good patients. When I stopped taking new patients, I kind of got rid of some of that extra, trim the fat. We
Yeah,
got rid of the ones
absolutely.
that maybe weren't serving us anymore. And so I can honestly say that I love my patients that I treat. So on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, I do very, very long days.
Mhm.
And so we're around 100 people. But on Wednesdays we do half days, and then the other doctors are also full now, and they do long days Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then our massage therapists are also full.
Mhm.
So it's hard to put a number on it because it depends on who's working, because I don't have, except for some staff that runs my office, the people in my office, they don't work for me, they work with me. And so I don't tell them when to be there, and I don't tell them what hours to work, and I don't tell them what to do. So it depends on who's all there, but we have quite a few people in and out every week.
Yeah. So you mentioned trim the fat. How important is that to have the right client in there
Oh
for you? A
my
lot of
gosh.
businesses are afraid to do that, to trim the fat and
Well,
try to find that right client.
and I do say that lightly because in the beginning, I was thankful for every patient, good and bad. And I think that there is a chiropractor out there for everyone. And I might not be everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. And that's why there's a bunch of chiropractors out there. There's definitely somebody out there for everyone. But when somebody is really sucking the life out of you, when you see them on the schedule and you're like, oh no, I just
Sure.
really got to try to get through this, you're not delivering quality, loving care. You're just
Mhm.
trying to get through the visit. So there's something to be said for that. When you have really good people, it's not really working. I always kind of make the joke that I don't really have patients. I just have a lot of friends and family,
Sure.
I love my patients like I love my family. So it's so important that when you have somebody that's not working out for you, you gotta get that out of there.
Mhm.
But on the other side of that, in the beginning, when you are just trying to get through and you are on your customer service, you take care of everybody no matter how they treat you. So that's hard. But I think once you get to a certain point in life, you don't want to constantly be getting drained. And so once I was like, I can't fit another new patient anywhere in my schedule, we're several months booked out. That's when I was like, okay, I want to make time for quality patients, and then I
Mhm.
want to weed out the other ones. So
You've talked about it a little bit, but what sets you guys apart on the service side? You're very service oriented, and
we
you've
are.
mentioned family a number of times. So
We
what
are,
sets you
yeah.
guys apart?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Our office, although it sounds high volume, if you go into another true high volume office, we're not high volume.
Mhm.
A lot of people have assistants and stuff that do a lot of their groundwork and their pre-work for them. From our office, obviously when you walk in, you see Jamie. She is one of the most incredible employees and people in the world. If she ever leaves, I'm just going to cry because she's wonderful. But, from the start, you see a smiling, loving face. Jamie knows everyone's names. She's just wonderful. So, I think from the start, you have a good first impression.
Mm.
She takes good care of you. And then from that point on, you always see the doctor. You aren't thrown around to different rooms. You're not telling your story a bunch of different times. You're not having an exam done by someone different, so from start to finish, and it's not for everybody. I realize that. But I love knowing everything about my patients. I love knowing their jobs. I love to know who they're married to. I love to know what pets they have, what they do for fun, because all of that really impacts the type of care that they get. If you don't know that they work a desk job and they have chronic low back pain, that's on you. You know what I mean? So I think from our office, we're different because we do take the time and we don't have 2-minute long visits. So we're really spending the time to get to know people, which again, we're never going to be the highest grossing office revenue style, but I'm going to sleep really well at night knowing that I
Right.
took really good care of somebody.
Like you
So
said, you're loving what you do every
I
minute all
do.
day.
I do.
That's awesome.
I sure do.
So what else have you done business-wise to kind of elevate your company to be able to keep that care, keep that service through the growth?
That's interesting. We kind of latched on to law enforcement and first responders for our
Mhm.
business. So, and I'm not saying this kind of goes two ways too. I'm not saying to like, if you lower your prices or if you discount a certain group that you're kind of discrediting your care, but we really started to take care of our law enforcement and first responder community. And so that alone, when you take really good care of them, they're taking care of you out in the community. So when you take care of them, it
Yeah.
kind of really that helped with our growth also and kind of spread the word and gain trust and stuff. So we do a lot of different events for them.
Certainly. I love that. So what about like processes? Did you have to come up with new processes and procedures as you've grown, or have you had some of the same ones since the beginning?
A little bit of both. So I think one of the most important things that I tell any intern or anybody that asks me this question is consistency and habits are really important. When a patient first comes in, you are at the front desk. It used to be everything was on paper. They'd fill out paperwork. Now with growth and with technology, everything's online. So unless it's somebody who doesn't want that or if it's not working. But so that has really helped the process along. Electronic health records, all of those things have really helped the growth of the clinic. You're no longer having a patient file, that kind of
Right.
stuff. I do think that we have changed some of our procedures and protocols because of the number of people. And so Jamie has taken on, at the front desk, has taken on a lot of roles. She helps us out a lot. We bring in some high school kiddos to help us with some of the busier tasks to get people off the table and stuff like
Mhm.
that so that we can accommodate more numbers. But we have never shortened anything. So the patient comes in, they get a full exam, they get a full consult, they get a report of findings, they get an adjustment. So that part of it hasn't changed, but kind of some of the background stuff has.
Creating those efficiencies where you can out here without degrading the
You got it.
client experience
You
right
got
there.
it.
I
Yep.
love it.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of that client experience, so somebody comes to you for the first time, they've got whatever, you can pick the ailment,
Sure.
lower back pain, whatever.
Sure.
Walk us through kind of what you do in a consultation and where that normally goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So patient comes in and if they have their paperwork done before, we bring them back into our individual room. We start with a general history of the patient. There's certain points that we go over. And that kind of goes back to we find out what they do for a living. We find out what is bothering them, how it started, and a goal of what do you want to get out of this? Like a lot of times it's if you have low back pain and you're a grandparent, I want to be able to take care of my grandkid or whatever it is. So kind of set some goals or some intentions of what that care is going to look like. And then in the same visit, as long as the patient's still comfortable, you go into an exam. There's a series of assessments and protocols that you can go through for that. Some patients come that are in pain. Some people, it's just a wellness visit. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to tailor the visit to that particular patient. And then we'll do the full exam and we'll talk about exactly everything that we have found with you. And then I like to talk my patients through what an adjustment looks like if they've never been adjusted before. If they've been adjusted before, I explain to them that there's hundreds of techniques out there and there's a bunch of different ways to get adjusted. I will always do what I think and feel is best for you. But then if there's something you've had in the past or something you've seen that you either want or don't want, make sure you communicate that. We go over report of findings. We go over financial stuff because sometimes insurance is tricky, or if they're self-pay, we go over all of that before. We're kind of the black sheep of chiropractic. We don't do treatment plans as of like you come in and we map out the whole year from you.
Right.
We do more visit by visit and then we create a plan from there.
'Cause that is pretty common and amongst everyone else, right? It's here's your treatment plan for the next year, or year
and
and a
it's
half,
not
or
that
whatever
that's
it is.
wrong.
Right.
It's not that that's wrong. I will say from the start, I've always done things very simply. And I've always done things for how they've worked for me. And that might not be for everybody else, which
Mhm.
is totally fine. There's not a cookie cutter plan for everybody. And that's hard. In school, when you see somebody, you give them a treatment plan 5 times a week for 5 weeks, 4 times a week for
Right.
4, 3 for 3, 2 for 2, 1 for 1. You taper off. If you're 90 years old and you've never had chiropractic care and you're in 10 out of 10 pain, that might be the plan for you.
Mhm.
But if you're a healthy, well-managed, middle-aged human that's just looking for some care, you don't want to have to create time and income to come 5 times a week, 4 times.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think it just depends on the person, and that's hard because a lot of offices will map you out a whole year. You have to pay a membership. You have
Right.
to do all these things. And that works for them, and that's wonderful. And what we've done has always worked for us, and that's why we do it the way we do it.
Right. Well, and I think on the client side too, I think that would almost breed a little more trust in you that
I
you're
think so
not
too.
that you're not right away saying, "Hey, I need you to commit to
Mhm.
this year." you
And
know?
especially if somebody's never had chiropractic
Mm,
care, it's not for, I think it's for everybody, but it's not for everybody. And, not being offended at if something doesn't work out for somebody is fine. But on the other hand, if somebody's coming in and, chiropractic used to have this very witchcrafty voodoo
sure.
stigma around it. And so if somebody comes in and you're telling them that they have to spend 10 grand and they have to come and change their work schedule and find somebody to pick up their kids and
Right.
it's not convenient, although they might need it, they're probably not going to do it. So if you're
Mhm.
just honest with them, like, hey, you're in a lot of pain right now. You're probably going to need some consistency here, but we'll do whatever you're comfortable with. You're no longer a used car salesman. You're just being honest and genuine.
Yeah, I
So I
love
think that
that.
goes a long way.
It certainly does.
Mhm.
Well, you talked about it at some points thought of as witchcraft or whatever you got, but
Mhm.
talk to us about some of kind of the main tenets of chiropractic care and holistic medicine and things like that, what you're practicing.
Yes. So I say that lightly because there's really good chiropractors out
Uh-huh.
there. And there's really good old school chiropractors out there, but chiropractic has kind of changed. It's much more evidence based now. It used to be not so much like that. But there's good and bad in everything. There's good medical doctors, there's bad medical doctors. So I'm not saying that, but the way that chiropractic is going, we are doing a lot of either hands-on technique or we're doing, there's tools out there that you can use depending on the patient. And there's some great supplementation you can do, but it's no longer this guess and check or energy work, or you're trying to convince the patient or you're trying to fear monger them. It really isn't like that anymore, especially
Mhm.
not in our office. We do what we know works. And if it doesn't, we take a different evidence based approach.
Tell us some of the more of the services that you offer us at your practice.
Yep. So we do a lot of pediatric chiropractic care, which is funny because I always, like before chiropractic school, I didn't know a lot about it. And that's one thing my husband said to me is he's like, please don't be one of those like weird baby chiropractors. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would never. But it was just because I was uneducated. Pediatric chiropractic care really is misconceived because it can change a parent and a child's life. So we do a lot of pediatric chiropractic care. We do a lot of, wellness maintenance care. We do some acute care. That's what brings a lot of people into the office is people think, oh, I have back pain. I need to go to the chiropractor.
Right.
It's so much more than that now, but that's kind of the old school way of thinking. So we do some acute care. We have an animal chiropractor, Dr. Eigenbrode. She's wonderful. And then we have supplementation and then we have massage therapy. And so, yeah, we can cover quite a few bases
Okay.
there.
So the animal chiropractic, is that more wellness driven, or do they see something in their animal and they bring him in because it is more of an acute issue? I'm just
It's
curious.
it's more based off of symptoms because just like
Mhm.
kids, they can't tell us when something's wrong. And so it's more for those arthritic dogs that don't want to be on medication all the time, or a lot of dogs get pinched nerves just like humans do. Back in the day, the only thing they could do was supplement with medication. And so now animal chiropractic has really taken a turn and it's really come a long way.
So talk to us a little bit more about your overall view of health and wellness, some of your main do's and don'ts, things
Mhm.
like that.
Absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things that I always say is practice what you preach.
Mhm.
So I get adjusted often. I make sure my family gets adjusted often. It's funny, our like holidays and events and stuff. I have a table at the house and everybody gets adjusted, right? So practice what you preach. Everyone in the office gets adjusted and massage therapy. I also think the way that we eat and the things that we avoid also help with our overall wellness. My
Mhm.
husband's really into health and wellness too. And so get chiropractic care, we get massage, we eat clean for the most part. We take our supplementation, we get fresh air,
Sure.
that kind of stuff.
Eating clean. What's your nutrition regimen? What kind of stuff
Oh,
you
that's hard. So it's challenging because on my long days, it's very hard to still practice what you preach.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm very thankful for. My husband, he loves to cook. And so a lot of, it's so cliche, but there's so much processed, quick stuff now.
Yeah.
If you're doing something quick, it's probably not good for you.
Mhm.
But you can also do simple things. So Derek makes a lot of my meals for me, to be honest. And he does just a lot of whole foods, not a lot of snacky things. Or
Yeah.
if you look at an ingredient label and 99% of it, you don't know what it is, your
Mhm.
body also doesn't know what that is.
Exactly.
And so drinking plenty of water, I always tell my patients, like, if you're sitting at a desk and hours go by and you're not drinking, you know what I mean? Keep a water bottle. Try to get half of your body weight in ounces of water per day.
Mhm.
That's so important. Throw some electrolytes in the morning and not these over-processed liquid IV
Yeah,
electrolytes.
because there's some bad ones out there,
Oh,
isn't there?
just full of stuff you don't want in your body. It's
Mhm.
not going to recognize it. So even if you're doing a little bit of salt and lemon in the morning, or if you're doing something like that, just starting your day out like that, getting your water in, that kind of stuff is important.
I do the salt thing
Yeah,
every morning. Yeah, no
absolutely.
doubt about it. That's the first thing
Absolutely.
I do.
Yeah,
First
a
thing I
lot
do.
of my patients think, like, oh, I do liquid IV or I do this. And I'm like, I appreciate the want to do the right thing, but sometimes that's not always what's
Yeah,
best.
no,
So
pretty simple. Some of the Baja Gold sea salt is what I
you
like.
got it.
Off we go.
Half a lemon, you're on with it.
So, yeah, I mean, with the nutrition, a lot of times people overthink it. Like you said, just
Yeah.
whole foods.
Right.
Eat real food.
Right.
Don't try to stay away from the stuff that's packaged in boxes and bags. Just
Absolutely. And it's funny, in chiropractic school, it doesn't count for everything now in the grocery store, but for the most part, try to stick to the outside of the grocery store.
Yeah.
A lot of your processed things are going to be internal. So that's kind of a good rule of thumb too. It doesn't always work, but
any absolute, hey, I stay away from this
Ugh.
almost every time.
Artificial dyes, 110%.
Yeah.
I know it's so, it's so trendy, and I know that a lot of people talk about it, but doing what I do and being in chiropractic all day long and seeing kids especially and adults though, the way that alters your body, you would have no idea how terrible it is for you. But once you remove it, if you accidentally have it one time, you're like, oh my gosh, I used to feel like this all the time, or my kid used to behave this way all the time, or whatever it is. So I know that it's trendy, but artificial dye is 110%.
Oh, that one's a huge one.
There's a
we're the same.
reason that in other countries they don't allow it.
Exactly.
There's a reason for that.
No doubt about it. Yeah, we've been on that train for a long time as well. Get
and
all
it's
that out of
hard, but once and a lot of the kiddos that come into my office know that they can't have artificial dyes, and so we offer other dye-free options. And so they know when they come in, they get a dye-free option or they get a sticker or something like that. So they're still excited. You can't shelter your kid from everything all the time or yourself from everything all the time. You're still going to have environment. You're still going to be put in situations where you can't totally avoid it. And I completely understand that. But it's not that hard to not have those things.
Yeah.
There's options out there, especially now with the way the world is going. There's a lot of other options out there that don't have dyes in them. So please, please, please don't do it.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, no, I don't know if I'm the label Nazi or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, I look at all those and I, with my girls, and they look at them now too, and they're like, nope, that has that in it.
Yes,
nope.
I know your girls are so cute about that in my office. I absolutely love it, and I can have a full, very mature conversation with them about it because of how they're raised, and so I try to encourage without being obnoxious to families about that, and that there are other options, and that dyes are in so much. And so just read the label. If it has it, find an alternative. It doesn't need to be this complicated thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, one thing I've done too is almost completely gotten rid of all sugar out of my diet, other than just some fruit here and there. But I think that's huge. I mean, our diets are so laden with sugar.
And it's insane to me how much sugar is actually in things that you don't even know, like ketchup. People use ketchup for everything. I always encourage people to get like MyFitnessPal or something like that. Yeah. If you type something in and you really truly track every single thing that goes into your body, it's way more than you think it is. I only had this today, but then I also had this, and I had a bite of this, and I added this. Like, all of those things add up so quickly, and you have no idea what amount of sugar is in things until you actually kind of start keeping track of it. It is mind-blowing, the amount. So yeah, just trying to limit. And again, I'm a firm believer. I live my life, and we enjoy birthday parties and we do things, but I am not about to have any sprinkles on that cake.
That's right.
So it's just keeping an open mind and being realistic and not completely limiting yourself from everything wonderful in life, but obviously being aware.
Yeah. Any nutrition regimen in terms of higher protein, higher fat diets, lower carb, higher carb, anything you?
Sure. So there's so many fad diets out there, and that's what's hard. I have patients coming in like, oh, I'm going carb free or I'm going keto. And, there's different diseases out there that encourage certain diets, and I can appreciate that. But there's a reason in the old days we were so much healthier than we are now because we were eating more protein. We were eating some fruits and we were eating some carbs. We weren't just eating carbs, or we weren't just just eating processed foods or whatever it is. But I always try to encourage, and this again can be controversial, but like the weight that you want to be or the weight that you're comfortable at, try to get that amount of grams of protein in a day. Start your morning out with protein and water. Don't just drink coffee on an empty stomach, which can lead to so many other points. But obviously, high protein, people don't want to hear that, but it's the truth.
It is.
It's the truth. And so there's certain methods that people always go back to, especially our healthiest people, and it's high protein, but well-rounded, healthy amount of fats, healthy amount of carbs, that kind of stuff. So
same way on the protein, gram per pound of ideal or body weight that you want to be. That's all when I've always had my most success. So
absolutely.
Any protein higher quality than others that you like? I mean, when it comes to eggs or beef or chicken or fish?
My husband and I are big hunters. And so I always try to encourage, if we were able to take it from the earth yourself, that's usually one of the best sources. So we do a ton of deer. But if you're not a hunter and you don't have that possibility, I think a lot of the processed protein shakes, again, going back to the things that you can really quickly eat or drink. Now, I'm not saying that I've never done that, because there's been some mornings where the weekend just didn't work out. We were gone and I'm like, I just have to do it.
Yeah.
It happens. Nobody's perfect. But for the most part, just if it's something that has come from our earth and hasn't been through a million hands of people who are making money off of it, it's usually good for you.
Completely agree. And then with those protein shakes too, we were talking earlier about all the different stuff that's in the electrolytes and different things in those protein shakes. You have to be really, really careful, because there could be so much junk in them.
And it's really interesting. Some of my patients that do they think they're doing well. They do a lot of protein shakes. They do a lot of really processed creatine or something like that. And then they go get blood work done and their kidney function is off. Their liver function is off. They're like, man, I'm healthy. I work out. I do all this. It's because your body's trying to process all these things that it's not used to having inside of it. And so focusing on more of like a clean route that way is so important, rather than, some of that other stuff.
Absolutely. Talk about hunting. What all do you hunt? I know you said deer, but anything else?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of everything. So we deer hunt. We do wild pig hunting in Oklahoma every year.
There you go.
Yeah, which is very, very fun. For my 30th birthday, my husband took me on an iguana hunt in Florida. We dove, duck, goose. So we do a little bit of everything.
Did you eat the iguana?
We wanted to. The guide that took us out has a homeless sanctuary of people and pets, and so he donates a lot of the meat to that. But we were not able to try it. Where we were staying was kind of like at a resort, so it wasn't something where you could like bring it back and cook it your own. But I have heard that it is edible. But he does like a wildlife rescue that he feeds a lot of that meat to.
Adeline, younger guy, she's gotten into some of like the survival shows a little bit, and they'll eat lizards and stuff.
They'll eat just about anything, yeah.
I was asking that question mostly for her to see if you.
Yeah, so I have not personally tried it. What's interesting is my husband went on an alligator hunt, and that alligator meat is also very delicious, which that's not something I would normally choose. But yeah, any of that stuff I'm all for. I love it all.
Okay. Yeah, I've had alligator before, but never had iguana. There are tips and tricks for nutrition, wellness, working out, anything along those lines.
A couple things there with working out. That's a hard one, especially, and it's something I battle all day long, almost every week, because I do have long days, but finding some type of consistent routine. So, in this year, I've really gotten into Pilates, and I go 4 times a week or 3 times a week, whatever your schedule allows. Finding something that you really love is important. Not doing something, I have a lot of people like, oh, I'm going to try CrossFit because I love how their bodies look, or I'm going to try running because runners have great bodies.
Right.
If you don't really enjoy it, though, it's never going to be sustainable. So I always try to encourage even a lot of people, which you wouldn't believe this just because of the lifestyles that we live, but a lot of people don't even go for walks. They don't even get 3,000 steps a day.
Right.
So just trying, everybody says try to get 10,000 steps a day. That might not be for everybody. Some people need 20,000. Some people need 5,000. Any steps are better than no steps is what I say, though. So trying to find something consistent that you enjoy doing. That's been huge for me. This is like the most consistent I've been in something for a very, very long time. And then from a nutrition standpoint, we have these supplements that we always recommend to people, and not always, but for the most part, if somebody's struggling with something. So I always say try to keep an open mind, but most average Americans need a fish oil. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's good for blood thinning. Most people need a probiotic. Most people are deficient in magnesium, and most people in the Midwest are deficient in vitamin D. So just choosing those 4, obviously it's wonderful if you can get some blood work done and not just kind of take a stab and hope you're doing the right thing. But definitely that's what 89% of people in the United States are deficient in. So that's usually a good, place to start. One more thing with that, though, is it's interesting. A lot of people just go to CVS or Walmart or
Uh-huh.
Walgreens to get supplements. Please don't do that. Harvard's done a ton of really cool studies and they've released them where they've tested a lot of those just big box store supplements that are everywhere. They're cheap for a reason.
Mhm.
You might as well use that money as toilet paper because none of that stuff is really high quality. One of the studies that they released a few years ago stated that in a lot of those supplements that there's really only 5% of the actual nutrient in the whole bottle. Really only 5% of it is contained in that
Oh,
bottle.
wow.
And so a lot of those, we would do x-rays on patients and we'd see stuff in their colon and we're like, what is that? And they're like, well, I do take a men's daily. It's just
Mhm.
sitting there. So making sure you're getting quality supplements, either from a provider or from a Food Fantasy or something
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah.
Don't just go to Walmart or Walgreens and get your supplements.
Yeah, and that magnesium is huge. I listen to a lot of, Dr. Hyman.
Yeah.
I listen to him a
Yeah.
lot, Dr. Gundry and all those
Yeah.
folks. Dr. Hyman, I love his, functional medicine approach and
Me too.
everything,
Mhm.
and he's talked a lot about magnesium because that actually causes a lot of issues, right, if you're
Yes,
deficient in
so many
magnesium.
different things, yeah, and I always have people tell me like, "Oh, well, I heard online or TikTok, I
Mhm.
saw that I should be taking magnesium." There are so many different kinds of magnesium, so it just depends on what you're taking it for. The biggest magnesium sold out there is magnesium oxide, the biggest waste of magnesium there is. Don't waste your time and money. It's the easiest, it's what's left over, it's the cheapest to produce. People think they're getting a good magnesium supplement. So
Mhm.
I think it depends on what you're taking it for. If you're taking it for sleep or if you're taking it for muscle tightness, there and a lot of supplements, a standard dose of magnesium is 50 milligrams, but a standard adult should really be getting 400 milligrams in a day,
Oh, wow, okay.
give or take the
Yeah.
person and what they have going on. But so I think it's different for everybody. But finding a good supplement, finding what magnesium or whatever's right for you,
Mhm.
and then taking the right amount and the right time of day, stuff like that.
And how do you help your clients with that? When you said you recommend these supplements, you have supplements in-house there that you guys
I
have, or
do.
do you
I do. I
recommend?
carry orthomolecular products. You're always constantly getting bombarded with supplement companies wanting you to sell their product. And that goes back to practice what you preach. I take a wide variety of orthomolecular products. It depends on who you talk to. One of my good friends is a medical doctor, and she's like, if you eat a good enough diet, you don't really need supplements. That might be the case for some people. Most Americans do not have a good diet and they
Right.
need help. That's
Mhm.
what it comes down to. And so I carry orthomolecular products in my office and I don't recommend those four we talked about. I don't recommend those to everybody. And I honestly don't even bring it up unless a patient talks to me about it because
Mhm.
that goes back to being a used car salesman.
Sure.
Some people think, oh, when you go to the chiropractor, you have to go back a million times. They try to sell you $1,000 worth of supplements.
Mhm.
And that is true. And I don't want that. And if I'm really recommending something, it's because I actually think you need it. There's plenty of ways to make money in the world. And when it boils down to it, it's not all about the money. So if you're selling somebody $800 worth of supplements in a visit, they come back a month later, they don't feel any better. And now they're mad
Right.
because they don't feel any better. They spent all this money. Now they don't trust you. I just don't go that route. So if somebody
Mhm.
asks me about it or if I truly think somebody can benefit from it, I bring it up. I don't ever bring it up on the first visit unless they ask me about it. And I don't ever push it like a used car salesman. So that's just something that's the way I operate. That doesn't mean that that's right and that's
Sure.
what everybody should do, but that's just what I do.
You mentioned a second ago about, somebody said if you eat healthy enough, you don't need supplementation.
Mhm.
I've heard that too, and I'm very clean in terms of what I eat and
Yep.
everything. I've also heard that our soil is depleted where it doesn't have the same nutrients as it used to.
Yeah.
Most of the food that's out there wasn't produced properly, so it's not as nutrient dense as it used to be either. So really,
Yeah.
no matter how healthy you're eating, unless you know exactly where that food came from, you probably still need a supplement.
You got
So,
it. It's just so different now.
yeah.
We have to produce things so differently and, the cost of things is so different now and we have to have such a high amount of things to keep up with the population and so the quality has kind of decreased and then
Mhm.
modern day farming has really removed a lot of magnesium from the soil and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So the way we do things now and the way things are present now is completely different than how it used to be. So although some people might not need it for the most part, we're not getting what we used to, so we need to have some help with that.
On the magnesium front, I take magnesium supplement every night,
Mhm.
and I can, if we go on vacation and we forget it or something, you can
You can tell.
definitely see the
You
you
can
definitely
tell.
tell the difference.
And sometimes I tell my patients that, if you don't think that this is helping you, completely understand it might not be the right thing for everybody. Take a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, man, I really needed that magnesium or that fish oil or whatever.
Right, because you don't realize that you've gotten into kind of a new normal, and you don't
You got it.
realize how much better you feel than you did because it might have been more of a gradual increase to that.
Same thing with artificial dyes or
Mhm.
same thing with chiropractic care. I talk to people all the time that are like, I'm not in any pain. I don't need to be adjusted. And I'm like, you don't know what it feels like to feel good. They get into this, like, this is how they've always felt. This is what they think is normal. It kills me when I have people come in and they've circled that they have headaches. I'm like, how often are you getting headaches? They're like, oh, just normal, a couple times a week. That's not
Norm.
normal.
Right.
Headaches aren't normal.
Mhm.
But the way the world is, people think that's normal.
Right.
And so that's been one of the things I'm like, I don't ever want to talk down to somebody, but I'm like, that's not normal, right?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
So I think that's something too, is most people don't know what it feels like to feel good. So
No, completely agree. They don't know what normal should feel
feel
like,
like,
and then
right.
as people get older, they just attribute, "Oh, well, that I'm just
Yeah,
getting a little
age,
older. That just
arthritis.
that's just what happens to people."
Right.
Right?
And that's
So,
so not true. And I tell my patients that all the time too. A lot of times people come in and are like, well, I guess I'm just arthritic now. Like, your body can be riddled with arthritis and you can be completely asymptomatic. Arthritis is just something that happens, but then what you put in your body is how it responds to that arthritis. So, certain processed foods or sugar attacks areas of fragility. And
mhm.
so when you have these arthritic areas or you have a surgery or you've had a traumatic event, those kind of go to those areas that have had trauma. And so you might have a flared up low back, but it's because of what you're putting into it or what you're doing. You
Mhm.
can have arthritis forever and not even know you have it.
Yeah,
It's just, your symptoms are flared up.
absolutely.
Hmm.
No, I would take care of yourselves. You won't have as many of those quote unquote age related
Yeah,
things.
you got it.
Just
I mean, I
eat
have,
right,
yeah.
exercise, stay active.
Yeah, some of the 80-year-olds I have in my office that do the right things are some of the healthiest people that I treat. And
Mhm.
then I've got some 20-year-olds that can't get out of bed in the morning.
Right.
So it completely depends on how you take care of yourself.
No doubt about
Absolutely.
it. Do you do any of some of the biohacking tools that are popular now, like the red light therapies and the cold
Mhm.
plunges and everything? You into any of that stuff?
Yeah, so I think that there is a lot to be said for some of that red light therapy and some of those cold plunges. I think the problem that we run into is people see trendy things online and then they want to try it and it
Right.
might not be appropriate for them. If you're somebody that has a very high intensity job, you're a manual labor or something like that, you should be cold plunging at night. You've put your body through some chaos during the day, so
Mhm.
you've got to remove some inflammation. Your body's made to do that. You're made
Right.
to work. I don't want you to not work, but then you've got to come home and you've got to remove some inflammation. You've got to make sure you're drinking plenty of water. You've got to take your fish oil. You've got to take your turmeric or whatever. So cold plunging for people like that and for some of our athletes and for some of our high stress individuals, it's really
Mhm.
good for people like that. It's not for everybody. I hate being cold.
I do too.
And I know the benefit of cold plunge, but the mental stress and trauma that it puts on me is not worth it for me.
Right.
So that's kind of a double-edged sword. There are certain things that are so incredible for certain people. I can't get past it. I don't have the mental durability to go through cold plunging, but that doesn't mean that it's not right for someone else.
Yeah.
So there's something out there for everybody for sure. The red light therapy is hot right now. It's very, very trendy.
Mhm.
And I've got laser therapy in my office, class 4 laser therapy in my office. There is a lot of really good stuff out there. And then there's a lot of really gimmicky, cheap,
I
not good
bet.
stuff out
Yeah.
there. So the thing I tell all my patients, like, should I buy this blanket or this sauna or should please do your research. If
Right.
it's $50, it's
not
$50 for
right.
a reason. There's
Exactly.
a reason things are expensive. And that to be said, there's some expensive things out there that also aren't worth it. So
Mhm.
please, before you buy something like that or commit time to that, make sure it's going to be worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do cold every morning, but I'm the same way. I absolutely despise it. So
Despise.
it's every time,
Yeah,
here we go.
let's get this over with.
Let's do it. So,
I despise it.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
which
it's
is
rough.
funny because like I hunt and do all that stuff in the cold weather, but it's just they make a lot of things now and it's incredible what we can do to stay warm. And if I don't have to be cold, I don't want to be.
Absolutely. No, tons of good stuff. So
Mhm.
all this stuff holistically, how do you think it elevates your clients' lives?
Again, I've said a lot of times since I've been here today, but practice what you preach. I think that I do for the most part take care of myself and I do feel really well every day. And I do these long 13, 14-hour days because I feel so good. And so I think being able to get in there and take care of people while I'm functioning at an optimal level has made a huge difference.
That's awesome. So I know you're very community focused too. There's an event coming up, fundraising and toward the tragedy that happened. I guess it's been a couple of months ago now, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
in Chatham.
Early
So
April.
yeah, tell us a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, so July 6th, they are doing a Chatham Strong community event, and there's going to be a lot of different opportunities to give back to these families and to the community that have had so much tragedy struck on them all of a sudden. And so I think if you're around or if you're able to help out or support this event, it would really make a huge difference to these families.
Mhm.
Nobody deserves to go through what they went through, and we can only be there to help support them.
What was the date on that again, just to tell
July
everybody?
6th.
All right. Is there anywhere where people can go to learn more about that? Is that
There is
posted?
a Facebook page, there's an event page, there's a website, and there's quite a few flyers around too. So they're calling it the Chatham Strong Fest. But one of my good friends it was his idea and he kind of took it from there. There's going to be bands and there's going to be, a lot of different opportunities to contribute, not just financially, but also to be there for the community.
Yeah, because that's just heavy, heavy, heavy stuff
It
in
is,
the
yeah.
community.
It was hard. You try not to make it about you because, I necessarily didn't lose a family member.
Mhm.
But, when you're directly treating these families that were involved, it's hard on you. It weighs heavy and, it does become about you because you feel bad and you feel sick for these people. So I can't do anything to bring these people back. But if there's anything I can do to make them feel better, I would love to be there. So I think that's what this event's going to really help for.
Certainly.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of the health and wellness stuff that we've talked about, is there anything else you do personally to elevate your life?
Yeah, it's interesting because although we work really hard, we also take time off. And so I am really close to my friends and my family. And so when we're not working, I make it a point to be intentional with those people that I'm around. So I'm very close to my husband and my husband's family, and I've got some really good close friends. I have a small circle, but I love them very fiercely, and I'm very, very close. Most of my family lives here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think not just being intentional at work and working hard and doing honest work there, but really taking care of and being around your loved ones and spending good quality time. These are some of the best years of your life, and one day we're not going to have that. So really loving those people who have supported you and been there for you has really helped me kind of to this next level.
Well, if somebody wanted to, come out to your practice,
Mhm.
what would be their first step?
Yep. So we are located at 7012 Kingsmill Court. We're in Piper Glen Plaza in Springfield. There's a website they can book online. We have Jamie answering the phone. She can book you over the phone. We also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. You can reach out through those two to schedule.
Awesome. Well, we've had a lot of great takeaways so far. I'm going to ask you for one more from your personal side, one more from your professional side
Okay.
to help folks elevate their life or business.
Okay. I think from the personal side, it would go back to being intentional and really taking care of those people that support you. Without your support system, you're not going to be anything. So you've got to really have people there that are going to support you. So really taking care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved ones, so that you can take care of your patients, that on the personal side. From the business side, I would say to be consistent and to continue being honest. World doesn't owe you anything. Nobody owes you anything. So to keep really grinding and to keep really working hard, but to keep being honest and genuine in the meantime.
I love it. Well, Dr. Sammy, appreciate you spending the afternoon with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for taking care of my girls.
Absolutely. It's
All
my
right.
pleasure.
All right. We're going to let Dr. Samantha Waggener get back to elevating Springfield, but for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back. Tired of pain, stress, or fatigue? Want to know what normal really feels like? At Wagner Chiropractic and Wellness Center in Springfield, Dr. Samantha Waggener and her team offer personalized care, from chiropractic and massage to deep tissue laser therapy. They believe true healing starts with the whole person. That's why they take a holistic approach to health and wellness, promoting total well-being for all ages. They strive to improve the overall health of entire families using evidence-based, drug-free, natural methods of healing. Visit Wagner Chiropractic and Wellness Center, LLC.com or call 217-679-3637. That's 217-679-3637. Wagner Chiropractic and Wellness Center, where your wellness journey begins. All right, how about Dr. Sammy? Phenomenal stuff, right? Hey, so many great takeaways for y'all. That holistic approach to health and wellness is key. A lot of what she talked about, I practice in my daily life, and I am a walking testament to the effects it can have. For any of you that have listened to the show for any length of time or know me well, you know that I am pretty particular about what I eat, about my exercise routine, and about all my health and wellness regimens. I'm a little bit of a biohacker. I try a lot of the different things that are related to longevity. So Dr. Sammy talked about a number of things that are right in line with 10x strategies. First of which, you might have picked up on it. We've talked about it many times before, the idea of service over selling. She talked a number of times how in the past, chiropractic care in general had almost a connotation where it was a little more of a sleazy sales type of thing, where they would try to get you into a longer term commitment. They try to push all the different supplements and everything, whether you need them or not. And she takes the approach, and she feels the industry has changed a lot over the years to get away from some of that. But she takes the approach of service over selling. She's not trying to push all the supplements onto people that they don't need. She really wants to take what her clients need and only focus on what she can do to help with that, not try to give them any extra just for the sake of selling. That was on the case of the supplements. And then also her care plans that she talked about, how most of the industry use those long-term care plans where she focuses more on short-term. Feels like that drives customer satisfaction, that drives client retention, and that drives client trust in you. Very much down the same road of 10x when we talk about service over selling. Of course, you want to sell a lot of your product, but you have to be completely sold that your product is doing the right thing or your service is doing the right thing by your clients. And helping people is at the forefront, not the actual selling. Because if you're helping people, you're going to sell, right? Another thing she mentioned was having the right clients. Eventually, as you grow, being able to trim the fat to some degree, like she talked about. She said that lightly, but being able to trim the fat and work with folks that you really enjoy working with. She talked about how she doesn't really have clients. She's just got a lot of family and friends because she loves everything about who she works with. So a lot of businesses are afraid to trim the fat, to get rid of a customer, so to speak, or not do business with them. But as you grow and as you scale, those right clients are going to be attracted to you. When you have all those good people around you, those clients are going to be attracted to you because of that. She also talked about shadowing. I thought that was impressive that she went to over 30 different places to find out how she wanted to run her practice, right? We talk a lot about in the 10X world about constant development, continuous learning. That is a phenomenal way to go out and learn. Go to over 30 different places, find what works, find what doesn't, see what you can implement, see what you definitely want to stay away from. Great way to learn and train. On the 10X side, of course, we have a lot of different things we do for training. We do Cardone University every single day, those of us that are in it, and highly recommend that. Again, we've talked in the past about going to those conferences, being a part of associations that are offering professional development. I did a 10X tip the other day where, hey, if you're an employee of somebody, as a general rule of thumb, try for 1 hour of personal development for every day you work for somebody else, right? If you're working a whole day for somebody else, you should be able to carve out an hour to be able to grow yourself. It's going to help you in the long run. So I would certainly at least do that. But I would certainly like you to do more. But start with that. She also talked a lot about the holistic approach to health and wellness in terms of supplementation, eating clean. We've talked many times about that type of stuff. Bottom line, if we eat more whole foods, keep the processed crap out of our diets, we're all going to be much better off. And then we stay active on top of that with whatever kind of exercise you like to do. So a lot of great stuff with Dr. Sammy today. from customer service to her growth. We talked, if you recall, talked about how she only had $47 left in her bank account. And then that first week, she had 112 visits. So certainly some tremendous growth. And hey, if you are looking for a chiropractor or looking for somebody to help you along your health and wellness journey, go check out their website, give them a call, stop by. Highly recommend Dr. Sammy and her team. So be right back with more after the break. Hey everybody, if you like what you've heard so far, hey, join us over on Facebook. We have a group and a page over there. You can also join our free community where we will bring you additional insights and strategies to help you elevate your life, your business, and ultimately our community. You can find that link in the show notes. We would love to have you join us. Let's get back to it. Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Appreciate you making us a part of your day. Hey, check out all those previous episodes. Just head on over to your favorite podcast outlet. Search for Elevate Springfield. Should be able to find us. Follow me on social. Hey, got that YouTube channel out there. You want some of those highlights and some of those tips of the day, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Robert Ferriell. We'd certainly appreciate it. Thank you to Dr. Sammy, Dr. Samantha Waggener from Wagner Chiropractic for joining us today. So many great things that she discussed. Hey, take some of those actionable strategies that we talked about today. You bring the discipline and follow through. And together, we're going to elevate Springfield. We'll see you next time, y'all. Be great.